Hello, everyone, and welcome to our monthly series of Meet the Author. And today we have Martha Miller joining us, and she is the author of the book Times New Roman: How We Quit Our Jobs, Gave Away Our Stuff, and Moved to Italy. And of course, we'll send you the links later of where you can buy your copy. So, Martha, I guess let's start with, how did you even get started with writing?
Well, that actually didn't happen until I got to Italy. So I was walking around and trying to get things figured out. And I had been in different situations. I had a big retail background, and I would be in a store and get reprimanded for like touching something. Or at the newsstand, you can't just walk up and pick up a magazine and flip through it. They say, no, non toccare, and kind of bat you away. And so different situations of retail that I've always was used to, I was getting in trouble and I couldn't figure it out. So I pitched an idea to write about it to the editor of Wanted in Rome, which is an English language magazine in Rome that I had been reading. And it was sold at those same newsstands. And I said, I don't understand what the rules are here. What if I interview some shopkeepers, some newsstand, the people who sell the newsstands, and get some information. Maybe other people are confused too. So she said, I love it. I love the idea. So I spent the next week or so interviewing about 30 different people, everybody from grocery stores to like at the fruit market, the Giornalaio, which is the news guy, at the high-end shops in Rome on Via Condotti, and just a little bit of everything. And I wrote my questions out in English, and I went down to a friend's, and she helped me translate them into Italian. So I would walk in and I'd memorize my lines. What is rude behavior from Europeans? Or I mean, not from Europeans, from Americans, or stranieri, which means foreigners. And they'd usually just start laughing. And then they would give me so much information, I couldn't even write it fast enough. So I wrote this article, and it was the first one I'd ever gotten published, and I was absolutely thrilled about it. And then the editor said, oh, we love that. Do you have any other ideas? And so I just started writing for her for this magazine, and then it kind of branched out, and I got travel articles written in different magazines and things like that.
So what you actually did is you didn't intend to write the book before you left the US. It actually happened after.
That's right. I always thought about being a writer, but I really had no idea how to do it. I had tried a few times and just didn't really know what I was doing. And when I started starting writing over there, I thought, well, at least I've got something really interesting to write about. And I'm not going to try to write about art and architecture and things I have no qualifications or background in. But I knew sales, I knew fashion from my background. So the next article I wrote was a recipe for Italian dressing, because I was fascinated with the way the women dressed and the high heels that they would wear over those cobbles, and they just have such style. And I didn't. I was just wearing comfort, jeans, comfortable shoes. And so I started asking around, and, the bella figura is kind of a famous little, phrase of, you always look put together from head to toe. That's the bella figura. You look great. And women are very in tune to that in Italy. Their hair has to always look great when they leave the house, everything. So I wrote an article about that, how to dress like an Italian, basically.
Great.
And then just, other ideas came to me, and not everyone was, hit out the ballpark. A couple of times I wrote things, and the editor's like, you're not really getting this. You really don't know about cooking, do you? And I was like, well, I tried. The chef wouldn't, we were really not connecting. And anyway, so I learned that you need to write about things you know. So when I stuck to retail, I would profile different shops, in my neighborhood for the Christmas edition, where you could shop and find great balsamic vinegar or whatever. I was good. good. But if I got off, too far out of my comfort zone, it was just hard to write about. So when they say write about what you know, it's just the simplest way to do it.
And what made you think of the title? Like, how did you come up with that name?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked me that. I was sitting at the computer one day and I just kept kind of calling it 2 Years in Rome. It didn't really sound great. And I looked up and I saw the font on my computer, Times New Roman. And I was like, oh my gosh, that would be a great title, because we are trying to be like Romans. We're trying really hard to be like Romans here. We're the new Romans. These are our times there. And then I got published while I was in Rome. So that kind of, alluded to that dream of coming true. Yeah,
because I totally love the title.
Thank you. I've gotten a lot of compliments on that. Librarians love it. Teachers love it.
So now let's talk about why you decided to move to Italy out of the US.
Okay. Well, I kind of have to go back just a little bit further. When I first met my husband, we were at a singles mixer thing. And the first thing I ever heard him say was, I just want to quit my job and move to Mexico, live in a box on a beach. Ooh. And I thought, okay, that's kind of different, but interesting. And so I thought that that kind of set the tone for our relationship, is that we kind of had a common interest in doing some living abroad, traveling, and just kind of making life our own, doing it our own way. So we were both in very, jobs that we'd been in for a while. And, but John came to me one day and said, I really would like to go back to school and finish my degree. I've started my career so early and I never got to finish, and I really want to go back. And then he said, well, we don't have to stay in Houston. We could move to Mexico. We could move to Europe. We could, look at some different options. And I was like, wow, we could do this. We were, we weren't young. We were kind of middle, late 30s, early 40s, but we didn't have kids yet. We didn't have a house. We didn't have a lot of, obligations. And so we started looking at where we could go. And he narrowed it down to English speaking schools that would give you you could graduate from, get a degree from, degree granting English speaking schools, kind of a long, checklist of things that they had to be. And we narrowed it down to 4, and then we narrowed it down to 2, and they were Spain and Italy. Mm-hmm. So I said, before we quit our jobs and do this crazy thing, we've got to go and check it out. We can't just quit and then, go. So we came to Madrid first, and we looked, and John really loves Madrid, and he would love to live there. And we just didn't feel like the school was quite what he needed. And then we didn't know for sure, but we went to Italy then, and I had been to Italy several times. Well, not several times, maybe 2, or maybe that might've been my 3rd trip. But I just loved everything about it. And the school was so helpful. They were like, we'll help you find a place to live. They even showed us 4 places while we were there. The other school was like, you're on your own. You're going to have to figure out the contract with the, the landlord yourself. And we didn't speak any Spanish. Of course, we didn't speak Italian either, but we had the school's support and their help. And they showed us 4 places while we were there and told us which, we could pick one. So we picked one that was really close to the school. It was very tiny. I think they were shocked that we picked the tiniest one, but we were going for location and the neighborhood and being able to walk to school and everything, making it easy. So anyway, to answer your question in a very long way, but when we came around to it, it was just that Italy, all the boxes checked. It was just what we needed, help. And so that's how we ended up going to Italy.
So on that trip, where in Italy did you actually go to, directly to Rome, or did you go somewhere else?
No, we just went to Rome.
Oh, just to Rome. Okay.
Just to Rome, because the school was right there in a little neighborhood called Trastevere.
Oh,
and,
one of my favorite little spots. It's a gem.
It is. And we lived right there. in an
fabulous.
apartment that we couldn't have afforded otherwise. I mean, because the school was helping and it was sort of subsidized, and they had, you know, these deals with the landlords, and it was part of the all-inclusive package,
Nice.
you know, yeah.
Okay, because that was actually one of our options before moving to Spain, was
Yeah,
going to Italy, because I fell in love with Rome.
it's not
And
hard to do.
No, and we lived there for, I guess it was almost 2 months. So it was a really like, okay, should we
Yeah.
do this?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
lovely.
Well, we'll have to have another one of these where you talk about
Yeah.
why you didn't stay in Rome.
Exactly. Now, tell me, because at that age, like you said, you were not super young, you were not super old. How were you able to afford quitting your jobs?
Very good question, and one I get asked a lot. We are, I wouldn't say we were always minimalists. We've made a lot of, you know, money mistakes before, but we had learned from them early on. So we had gotten pretty good at saving and having, you know, money for a rainy day. We were saving, we didn't even know what we were saving for, really. We just were not comfortable being in debt and having those obligations out there. And really, you know, buying stuff doesn't make you that happy. And for somebody who worked in retail for many, many years, and my whole focus was to make you buy stuff, I learned early on, there's going to be another truck coming the next week, and there's going to be stuff on that truck that you want just as much as the dress that you're dying to buy right this minute and you can't stand it. There's going to be something else coming along, and then something else. And if you keep buying all that stuff, you're just not going to be happy with it. You're not going to be happy with yourself. This comes after several years of, you know, paying off credit cards maxed out and, you know, all kinds of stuff. But we learned early, we started saving. And then when this idea came, we realized it was actually doable. And then we really started crunching even more. I remember I took all my lipsticks one day, you know, in the bathroom. This is the lipsticks I have. I really don't need to buy another lipstick for another year. And we were saving for a year. After we got married, we had about a year before we were going to go. So we really crunched down what we were spending, and we'd cook a lot. And John rode his bicycle to work. He had a company car at the time. I don't know. We just, we were frugal. I had realized early on that the more you buy, the harder you have to work, the more you have to work to pay for those things. And if you look at it that way, it totally shifts your thinking. And you go, oh, I'm working just to pay for a blouse, or I'm working just to pay for these really expensive shoes or this handbag. Maybe I just need one really nice handbag, or, you know, a semi-nice handbag. It doesn't have to be a designer. And I'll carry that for, you know, a long time. So it's a shift. Not everybody gets it, but fortunately we did early. And so when this came along, they're like, if we don't do it now, we're going to really regret it. I think we will if we don't go.
So on that topic about material goods, I'm sure that one of the things you noticed about being in Europe is that people have quality items, but have them for a very, very long time.
Yes, absolutely. And their homes are small. So if you're going and buying stuff every weekend, I don't know where you would put it. It would be so uncomfortable. So, you know, they call it a cafe society. You don't even really have people over to your house. So you don't have to buy a lot of fancy dishes and furniture and wallpaper and everything, because really you're meeting your friends outside at a cafe. I think that's a trend, not a trend, but just a fact, that it makes it a lot more economical if you're not trying to furnish a big place. Exactly. You know, heat and cool it, and, you know, everything, and clean it. Like you said, I don't want to clean all these, you know, rooms, or furnish all these rooms.
Exactly. And so one of the things when you first moved to Italy, did you experience any culture shock? Because did you even speak the language?
We didn't speak the language other than just a few phrases. And I don't remember ever feeling very uncomfortable and having culture shock, maybe because I had been there a few times. I had read about it. I kind of knew what to expect. I did miss my friends, of course. I remember crying a few times about that, but not like, oh, I miss driving my car and paying insurance for it and having car repairs. I didn't miss that at all. So I had more culture shock when we came back to the US. I can tell you the first night we came back, we ended up in Syracuse, New York, for a long story here, but we went there and we were looking for an apartment. My husband ended up going to grad school after this, but we went to a pizza place and the guy's making the pizza and he is just throwing so much stuff on this pizza. And it's just, I couldn't believe it. He just kept doing, I was like, stop. I want to say basta, which means stop. You just need little bits of thing. You don't cover the pizza with tons of stuff. And it's just kind of, that's a sort of an analogy. You don't need tons of stuff in your life, and just small where you can appreciate it. You can taste all the flavors. It's just really, this is like my philosophy of life these days. This less is more.
Absolutely.
So,
and as we get older, that's exactly the same trend for everybody. Just like having a car, who really needs that one in Europe? You can really walk around.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
It's
life
the
so much
nicest
easier.
thing. Yeah. I wish everybody could try it.
So did you find it easy to make friends because you didn't speak the language, or was it more difficult?
Well, I was taking Italian classes, intensive Italian classes, right from the beginning. For like after we got there, I started those classes, and I made friends in the classes. It's very easy to make friends with other expats. You know, from all over the world, people speak English. So all the kids in my classes, which were a lot younger than me, most of them, not everybody, but, from Sweden and Poland and from the US and from just all these different countries. And it was easy because you have a commonality. You're all trying to get along in a new country. But it is harder to learn, to become friends with Italians. It takes time. They are beautiful, wonderful, warm people, but they're not going to invite you into their house the first time they meet you, or the second time, or maybe the fifth time. I did get to know my neighbors, one in particular that I talk about in the book. And she would she'd hear me on the stairs and pull me into her apartment to have coffee or feed me lunch. So you do, but it takes time. So don't be, put off if you go and you don't just immediately, bond with someone. It's just not their culture. They know who they know, and it takes a while to get to know and feel comfortable with new people.
Right. And so after your little jaunt in Rome, you went back to the US after, was it 1 or 2 years?
It was about 2 years that we were in Rome.
Okay. And then now you're in Valencia, Spain.
Yes, almost 20 years to the day from when we went to Rome, we moved to Valencia. So it was 2001, and this was 2020. God, yeah.
Wow.
No, it was 2021. We moved this past summer.
So what made you move to Spain?
Well, we had such a great time in Italy, and we have a son now, and we talked for years about how it would be great to have, raised him in Italy or have him have that international experience. And, but we also had family. We have, parents and aunts and uncles and cousins that we wanted him to know and grow up with. And we still had to work. We were not, independently wealthy where we could just, flit off, be Euro trash. We always laugh about, but we'd love to be, but we weren't, because we just didn't have the money. So we had to work, and being the frugal kind of mindset and seeing how little you need, we just kind of saved. And as Nate was getting older and getting to high school, and we were like, we just have a little bit of time left to do this. And we brought him to check out Spain. We brought him twice to see the country, and he loved it and agreed that it would be fun to move here. We wouldn't have done it if he didn't want to. But he was counting the days. He kept saying, when are we moving to Spain? How long is it going to be till we move to Spain? So,
Wow.
yeah, so we had to have 100% buy-in. So
So it was really a family decision this time.
yes.
And did you find it easier or harder this time around? Because now you've got a whole family to figure out.
Oh, it was much harder this time. And for all my ranting about minimalism, I can't tell you how much crap we had bought in those 20 years and had to get rid of. And, people give you stuff and they're always, there's family heirlooms and there's just so much. And I have friends that put things in storage and they talk about how much they're paying to keep the things in storage. And then I have a very good friend who said, after 6 years, I went back and I didn't want one single thing in that storage unit. And I thought that could be me. And I don't want to waste all that money on it. So we got rid of a ton of stuff, but it was much harder for that. It was much harder having a teenager that you were worrying, you're always worrying about if you're making the right decisions. And was this the right decision? Time will tell. I hope it is.
So you mentioned that you moved here in 2021.
Right.
So that was after lockdown in Spain.
Yeah.
What months did you move?
We moved into July.
Okay, so Spain had really just been open up a little bit. How did you find the paperwork process because of what was going on around all over the world?
Oh, it was just, I think it's always hard, but it was, my husband did most of that. He had a schedule and he knew all the timetables because it's very complicated as you have to have something done within 90 days. It can't be more than 90 days. You can't do it too early, and we had 2 cats that we were bringing. We had to have kitty passports and pit kitty and, and have them medically checked out. And I thought this was and that had to be done within 10 days before you left. And then something had to go from where we were living in San Antonio. It had to be sent to Austin for a certificate. It was down to the wire, getting everything done and timing. And I've got some pictures of all the stacks of paper where John was trying to organize it's just a million things you have to do. You have to send things off and get them certified. You have to get apostilles, which I can't even explain what an apostille is. I just know you have to have it. There's so much. And before, again, we had the school helping us when we went to Italy. We moved to Italy 2 weeks before 9/11. So things were a lot simpler before 9/11 as well. And this time there's just so much. We had to have an apartment rented. We had to figure that out long distance this time, which we had luckily had a contact that recommended a realtor and we were able to get an apartment. Anyway.
Wow.
On and on and on and on. Everybody says, I think I could write a book just about the process of getting here.
Exactly.
Forget everything else. It would be pages and pages.
Cafes.
Yeah. The clothing, fashion, that'll come later.
Now, could you do our audience or give our audience a bit of a treat and read a few lines from your book?
Oh, okay. I don't have anything right off the bat, but any particular
Nope, just
idea?
Anything at all.
Okay.
I've read the book and loved it, but I can't tell you I memorized which section.
No, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I don't even know where to start. How about if I read a little bit from the very first chapter. Okay. It's called the 21-month plan, which means when John brought this up, I said, well, if you want me to quit my job and move away, I need to know exactly how long it's going to take you to finish school. So he comes back like in 2 days and he said, okay, it's going to take me 21 months because we'll start in August of this year. We'll end up in May of the following year. And I said, okay, then I know how much money we need to have to kind of, cover our expenses and blah, blah, blah. So anyway. Okay, so this is the very first chapter. My husband and I are not trust fund babies or self-made millionaires, but like many people, we dreamed of living abroad. In August 2001, after much discussion, research, and planning, which included John's ceiling to baseboard flow chart of to-dos, we boarded a plane departing from Houston, Texas, en route to Rome, Italy. Checking only the allowable 2 bags each, one of which contained a bicycle, we began what we referred to as the 21-month plan. This unconventional adventure was not funded by a corporate overseas assignment, an inheritance, or winning lottery ticket, but in lots of little money-saving ways, such as brown bag lunches and bypassed cafe mochas. How about that?
Lovely.
This frugal.
Absolutely. That's just great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm
Thank you.
We're going to see each other around for sure, because now that we live in the same city.
I tell you, it has been such a pleasure to meet you and to have you welcome me here, because when we first got here with COVID, with no language skills and not being in Spanish, I wasn't making friends. And I thought, oh, this is just not, I can't do this. So I was so happy to make friends with you. Thank you so much for that. And also for inviting me to share my book.
Thank you so much, Martha.
Thank you.
And for all our audience, we'll be sending out the link as to where the replay will be, as well as the link of where to buy the book. See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.